Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good day. I am Trashy, and I am here with Hunters of Justice and some Hocus Pocus and Alakazam. I am pretty sure that we won't be able to do the whole chapter. The logo is just crying in my lap because she wasn't able to go down. She cannot play with others yet. But we are here. So, last time the team got new items, new armor, new weaponry. I mean, it is the same weaponry, but upgraded. And now, they will have to probably use it, because there is a mumbo jumbo going around. And actually believing that, oh yeah, maybe I should use my hat and wand again. Even if it makes me crazy. Let's see. What kind of music do we might we need? This one maybe. It was nighttime, but not on that. The young heroes were in the winter fighting game tournament when they were interrupted. But what they saved the world of what exactly had happened had occurred. All sorts of combat were extinguished. After getting into their super suits, they hoped to take her and drove as fast as they could toward the scene of the incident. Vehicles moving out of the way, and they moved with other unmajestic vehicles. By the time they arrived, the GPD had already cordoned off the rundown apartment complex with yellow police tape, and were moving spectators away. The police offered no such assistance to the Titans, however, as they, along with Rumi and Juniper, stepped out of the vehicle and entered the building. Instead, there were a few police officers inspecting the area, including a pile of flowers, papers, and the assortment of various other estate items that seemed to be scattered across the entire building. One of the officers turned to face the heroes, coming his hand down to his men's face before laying them. Titans? The officer greeted them. Someone in response. Officer, but explain the situation more clearly? The officer sighed deeply while rubbing his bald head. Isn't that mess it was this? We just got back after half an hour ago, almost an assault. The map had been loading up by the time we arrived, but the landlord here was looked around and frowned deeply. We couldn't find her. Right now, we are assuming it's kidnapping. You think a villain did this? My suggestion. No pretending. There is only two people I know who will kill the person with flowers, and one of them is not going to be Arkham. So yeah, I am pretty certain. One of them is Joker, I assume. Also, no jam, no. Oh, not Thank you. We are doing. HE and the others walked out inside the building, adding, "We take it from here, officer." And they walked past. The officer who showed just now noticed, and the name Miguel Rodriguez, nodded back. Good. I'm let you all take over. I'm about to let my boys get taken out by them supervillain. We are sitting before issuing his men out of the building, ready with the extra numbers. We watches them go with sympathy. You can understand just why many of the officers would be acted to handle the investigation. After all, this is supposed to be their job. However, the reality of the situation meant The normal person without trying to not apprehend a supervillain would potentially turn deadly. Hence, most of these similar to superheroes apprehend them. I mean, it's definitely would fit more that is copyrighted and I can't use it. Especially because it is Netflix, and Netflix is very stingy with copyright. The only major exceptions, of course, were Gotham City and Metropolis. Gotham due to the sheer need, and Metropolis due to having most advanced police force in the country. Putting those aside for the moment, Erin turned her attention towards her friend, who had already begun to survey the area more closely. Cyborg can already access the building security cameras, but Miss Boy has turned into a bloodhound and begun to sniff around. Using their mask, built-in visualization software, Link and Run had begun to comb them for fingerprints, and others were investigating the size of damage along the walls and floors. Yang, Zone, and Nora had gone upstairs with Kira, following a trail of flowers and feathers, while their eyes of their mask and helmet glowed. Funny how Rumi is following. I mean, no, Rumi is not there. Rumi is not following, but Rumi is one who is spreading flowers as well. Maybe it was Rumi who attacked the old woman. He was suspecting who the culprit was and began to scan for magical signatures, while Baron and Starfire continued to inspect the debris around them. He checked each and every room, for any scraps of evidence, or she's joining their friends upstairs, and he waited to step back room. Yellow police deep closed the door in an X pattern. Carefully opening the door, they were getting by the side of seemingly inconspicuous room, albeit one that had extensive forensic blood inside of it. They quickly began to scan the room for any sign of medical activity. Joel, meanwhile, held the back of his helmet and sighed deeply. I couldn't find a single trace of her anywhere, Robin noted suddenly, while Yang scratched her face slightly. So, what do we got? Joel asked. I had some report on your guys' villains a few days ago, but I want to know what you guys think. You know him more than I do. His cameras worked out, knowing their assault. Cameron replied by displaying an image of strange-looking magician entering the building via hologram, pressing from his eye into a nearby wall. But I was able to isolate this image. So it looks like him. I mean, if the cameras were broken down, I can still imagine, because I don't know much about him. You said he is irredeemable, but it's still possible that he was not the kidnapper. He just went after the kidnapper who was already here. It is possible, right? The flowers might be a sign of struggle between him and the would-be kidnapper. But I am just wishing, I know that's not how where it goes. To make copycat, Rice pointed out, playing the red advocate. Was he was sure he hadn't. Yeah, I'm playing the red advocate as well. Was he was sure he hadn't had an arrest in the past 2 years, and none of the fingerprints were on Lotus, and that she found much hid. To be fair, had interjected, he was wearing gloves, but we despite some fiber threads that matched previous pairs he wore. Anyone can buy those gloves. Even if it wasn't the case, why now? Why her? Why not turn to face Haven, who had her eyes closed and her left hand pressed against her temple? And also making the tagging noise. Mum 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 mum. Her right hand was engaged in the purple arrow, as she slowly went around, standing there. Haven, what do you see? Haven kept her eyes closed as she continued to survey for a few more moments before stopping. She had turned around to face Nolan, and the man looked faintly across her face before returning to her normal stoic expression. I'm detecting hints of magic here, more than downstairs, but nothing occurred. But he had likely moved in here from Eve's shop before finally leaving. He went, and why shouldn't have about letting go? I think it's safe to assume Officer only the suspicion was correct. Great. Just perfect. This my girl. Momo is back in town. Come here. I heard about him. Youngster said, but he's the one who carried, right? Close. We all followed. The way posed to me and Julie paid attention towards her. Momo used to be a stage magician, and now so strange. Who worked in a small time traveling circus. Made a decent living, but ended up getting a major case or small name, being you. So thirsty. Was harmless for the most part, only until eccentric. But then, he had an extra money, rent and health, right? Joe said, and I went on it. We don't know how we got a hold of it, and where it even came from, and the one changed him on a fundamental level. He continued. In the cheap part of things he got magic into extra magic. And he couldn't do the type of magic I can do, only limited to the real versions of what he already did. But magic nonetheless. At first, he used to simply end on what he was already doing, but he really lost his mind and started using his newfound powers to commit crimes. That's how we ended up fighting, saying. Although it was mostly just to get the man away from him. We actually did, but in the end, never ever nearly destroyed his life. Lost his job, lost his home, everything. We tried to have him, but he's so stubborn, and he refused all of our attempts. He has left every so often since then, and we have had to put him down every time. It's more sad than anything. Number side, as you said. In any case, we have to stop him before he hurts anyone else. Any suggestions here? Link at my loading number shown. Just one. Get that hat and run away from him. It seems like the man itself is the one. Or do you need to take away most? Probably most. Not other than that. One day has heard about the man, despite his silly appearance, was the Titans had never once managed to defeat him through pure science alone. It was only by destroying his man that they had been able to revert him back to his normal form, and thus defeat him. It was kind of like good to think in a way, albeit from a completely different genre. The group had their equipment done, decided Lord did open the groups to come up more ground. Cyborg had given them likely areas to stake out, and they could only hope they would find one more in time before someone else got hurt. It was times like this that the Gation had in leaving Jump City. Sure, the villains were unusually nothing like the ones he just finished dealing with in Gotham, but that didn't mean nothing bad could happen. Having a woman possessing an exam by a resident feminine is clarified as bad situation. We are going to try to take that Mumbo down. Rafael said into this communicator, and the young adult side. Damn it! So far, but Cyborg is looking for him now, but nothing yet. He's getting kind of frustrated. Rafael paused at the nut. And then you could feel a sense of empathy towards their friend. But not worry, I'm certain he will show up soon. You know Mumbo. He always was the showman. He frowned and now his eyes. Boy, you are not to be careful. I'll be there in a few hours. Your internet is lagging again. I'm sad to hear. Don't worry, I will be fine. We will all be. With this final statement, Rafael hung up and they shut off his communicator. Leaning forward to his motorcycle, he didn't pass the traffic as he continued to make his way to New York City. With my green navigation sign, telling him that he was 60 miles from Los Angeles, 40 miles from San Diego, and 120 miles from New York City. Frowning, Nick tilted his motorcycle even more, while waving glances towards the metal briefcase strapped to his bike. He continued soon, as something told him he would likely have to use it. Out of the frying pan into the fire. Life certainly isn't boring. Not so boring for a superhero, especially in Germany. You want to leave too? Hmm? We have to come out more count. The Italian and Roman Juniper and splitting into smaller teams would be beneficial. Sapphire and Miguel fit all fit Team Ruby, while Cyborg and Haven, and Meat Boy must fit Team Juniper. And no matter Ruby, Sapphire, and Megan were staying out near my bank, standing on the rooftop across the street while looking around for any sign of suspicious activity. So far, there was none, but it didn't mean they could afford to put their guards down. Do you guys see anything yet? From yes, by looking through them to a massive internal binoculars and kneeling against the building's edge. On the scene below, a few pedestrians taking a nightly walk or run, but nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing, Vice replied, while surveying the area. She then pressed her finger against her ear, activating the earpiece embedded inside. Why not? Anything on your end? Not a thing. Some among you know are sorry on the going for me. You'll answer in a slightly accomplished tone of voice. But I couldn't tell about smile and declaration. You'll ask for an updating tone. What about you guys? Find anything? Same as you, Dashi stepped into the police scanner and Miss Marshall is likely reaching out. If we find anything, we will let you know. Sounds good. Keep us posted. Fight night out. Your voice cut off with a click, and White moved her hand away. Standing up, he took one last glance around the area before turning back to face the others. They too had begun to set out, and moments later, they were making their way across the rooftops. Megan and Sapphire occasionally flew over everything, but the others had to make do with running. Ruby, at the very least, was taking the opportunity to practice gliding with her new game, as she leaned across the elevator, but each glide was still horrified and shaky. So, her shape is really replicating Batman, I would assume. Ooh, I mean, Johnson actually seems against the rooftop, but failing to seek her landing after a faltering guide. Yang, using her new grappling hooks, made her way over to her sister, and I'm hoping to her feet. Although she's down, they continue to run, watching as wide gates pull around across the platform grips, and Blake bounded from room to room. When they finally reached the left side, the room stopped, and they stumbled in various locations, making a constant view of the environment, and they searched for more. How do new guys usually do this? Yeah, yes, while quickly inspecting a motorcycle. For now, at least, like I said, feeling the impatience in your mind. With a smile, he gently shook her hand. I know, but right now, we have to be patient. He will turn up, and when he does, we will be ready. I know, doesn't mean I have to like it. However, Yang then developed the slide again, and she turned to face right. This is a prime opportunity to find a solve or a pesky problem for our group. Your name. Yeah. Where it's going? Knowing instantly where Young was going, and by the looks of Blake's and Ruby's faces, so did they. I know, I still have to come up with the name, where it began, and I wish I could. It's been over a week, she pointed out, and Wise stared pointedly at her leader inside the station. You think I don't know that? He does have a point. You don't have a name, not and been making things up about the food. So he chimed in, remembering how they had been purposely leaving out Mr. Wise's name over the radio. Coming up with a name is hard, okay? But I threw up her hand in frustration. Especially in my case. What are you talking about? Yang asked with a quick hand, and Wise narrowed her eyes at her. When Wise refused to speak, Yang put her hand on the hips and leaned forward. Well? Wise waited for a moment, then sighed and shook her head, before muttering quietly. He stole my collar. The white knight. Although none of you don't quite hear what he said, Blake did, and she couldn't help but groan. Seriously? He stole your collar? Recognizing instantly what Blake was referring to, Yang and Ruby looked at Wise with a look that seemed Kennedy? But Wise meanwhile blushed sadly and glared at the photos. Well, he did. My hair is white, my clothes are white, my aura is white, and everything about me is white. Yes, he chose white first. Now I can use that color without being derivative. That is your fault, Harley, they pointed out, causing Wise to stare at her in shock, and the act of feeling surprised in her. Seriously, we were all based on ideas by then, so he chose white night before you could come up with an idea. But if you hadn't been so consistent about the whole thing, and simply came up with one with your own color, I'm sure he would have given it to you. Yeah, first come first serve, we chimed in. Leon and Sapphire standing off in the background remained quiet, as it was a situation of fun, and no small amount of amusement. Somebody then had goofy grin on her face, and Leon had to step and giggles, and the humorous scene. Like the past three thought, Oliver suddenly cheerful Yang to put her finger to ear. That is him! She shouted. No, that is not! I began, for only Yang's voice began to everyone's comes. Go on there to my night! Yang said it, pointedly looking at Wise, who started her back. What's up? Find anything? The young lady replied. Motion the egg to some, but the melon made smile and continued. Not yet. Wanted to ask you a question, actually. Sure, we got time. What's up? Remember when we all came up with our names before got the 15? Yeah, what about it? If our headed mage had come up with her mage then and wanted to use the color of white, what would you have done? I would have come up with a different name, obviously. Why? Joel immediately answered, and he pointed to look at the white with triumph. White started a slight alert, and the banana had got stopped. That looked away in the embarrassed top. I think, just curious. I'll tell you more later. Yes, well, I could feel the confusion on Joe's end, and the phone answered. And then after a few more seconds, he began to speak once more. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later, I guess. Joe once again cleaned up the comms, and a moment later, the three girls laughed as his wife stood in her own house. Neat! That was a weird conversation. Joe noticed as he went back to what he was doing from before. It seemed his boy, Cyborg, and Haven were currently overlooking a bank. He was scanning the area for any magical signatures. What did they want? Dora asked. Man had curly gloves and sat to roll over bank. He wanted to know whether or not I would have chosen a different color if someone else wanted it. He asked one. It was obvious to all parties involved that the master expression was white, although for the life of him, he couldn't understand why the subject had come up in the first place. Here, from the confused look on her face, evidently again. Why did they ask that? I had no idea, Joe shrugged. Maybe she was annoyed you saw her color? Laura suggested, only for Joe to shake his head. No way! He's way too much for something as petty as that. But I thought about it for a few months before sharing, deciding it wasn't worth pursuing any further. In any case, we should get started only for allowed exposure to ring out of people from their position. Incidentally, they were threw themselves to the ground and found a small shock wave roll over them. I passed by, sound of shattering glass and the blaring of car alarms came up from the street, and a moment later the heroes jumped to their feet and began to race towards their side. Isn't that the place we literally just left? Gilmore shouted, before turning back into the hall and flying next to Raven. Joe really noticed that it was, but before he could tell the others, the herald had already begun to speak in the comms. Exposure and jumps in the bug, possibly Mumbo. I shouted as he leaped from building to building. We saw it! On our way now! Ruby responded. But the reply, ran forward getting himself over the building as much as possible. On the right, they usually noticed the large gaping hole on the side of the building. The he lay still across the bank's floor. On the ground were a few security guards, tied up with a large ring that appeared to be protecting them, and a lone night attendant was tied to a chair with multicolored ribbon of streamers over her mouth. Her eyes were frantic, and when she saw the assembled heroes rush inside, she screamed as loudly as she could. Her voice muffled by the gag over her mouth. Before the heroes could get to her, several large bags filled with money were thrown from the massive open white wall, holding them to turn towards the entry and aim their weapons at the blue-skinned man waiting for them on the other side. Mumbo jumbo! Raven began with a snort as she put in her front a pepper over growing commodity. Imagine Nick or Lee would listen to the conversation and wonder what the hell is wrong with them. I mean, they probably have been through this as well at one point. John really glanced at his team and just his hands to the side, looking back and joined his leader, while Laura and Pure went out to the far side of the room, the weapons never leaving Mumbo's frame. Hello, Titans! Mumbo cheerfully replied. He gestured to about to admit it in your face. It looks like you have something new recruit. Splendid! Where is she? The Cyborg demanded, pushing through Mumbo's robotic gazing. The great magician laughed and wagged his finger. A magician never reveals his secret. What? Mumbo smiled wickedly and pulled out a single card from his coat pocket. I will say that I'm a beloved captive audience. I wouldn't be surprised if the landlord was, the lady was inside the card. Joe didn't deny, slightly confused as to why would have Mumbo pulled that particular card out. Probably not needing that smoothie. So give me a second, I'll be right back. Back? Osman zoomed in with his hammer, jumping, and that's all the disgusting gas. Because itself was the last queen of space, which itself wouldn't have been alarming. The fact that the normal queen was replaced by the horrified visual of an overweight middle-aged Hispanic woman was. The king looked to the police and made sought him, and the woman has tracking his number to the missing landlord. One, Maria Gonzalez. Oh my god! There was an under her breath, while Miss Boy turned the lion, called in anger. Let her go! Even demanded to get his teeth, while Maple turning gun. But Momo made a laugh as he placed the card in his pocket, back in his pocket. He then twirled his hand, causing a black and white magic wand to suddenly appear in his hand with a puff of smoke, and he aimed it horizontally at the hero in front of him. And end the show early, you know me. I never leave an audience satisfied. With the declaration, more satisfying interaction. Hammer opened with a quick shot with his sonic cannon, taking Momo's hand and causing it to disappear. The guy spectacular screamed in fright. The side of now handless Momo as she fainted. But his head returned almost as soon as she did. Jeez! That was a rough crowd. Momo muttered under his breath before watching a tail with grenade flying towards him. He smiled and made his run in a circle. Presto Chango! Just before the grenade hit him, he suddenly moved into a cloud of white smoke, followed by sea dogs flying away from where the grenades previously were. There was a sad child at the side, wanting to feel something gas her leg. Looking down, she saw a good muscular rope, and wound itself around her leg. And a moment later, she skipped the choke as the rope whipped her around and flung her into the nearby column, hitting it. The old girl tried to free the crossing and the security guards from the mining, and was forced to halt the attempt to shield them both with his completely extending shield. He found them hit him, and he looked around to see Nora picking himself over the ground. Looking to himself, to look back at the gun and pull out his sword. I'm going to have to get it, so don't move, okay? I told the man. The guard finally nodded. I'm about to speak thanks to the guy over his mouth. So then Mike the gaffer in the Scotia moss into the gap. He showed up to lead the man with his blade. The gaffer slid upward, but the circle got into two, and the now freed the guard and tore the gag from his mouth. Thank you, the man got out and showed up towards the man before looking towards the hand. You can see that his mother arms, and all the $3 gone, who had pulled out a 9mm pistol and started firing it towards the magician from behind with some damage. Then looked back at the unconscious father. The guy pulled out his pistol and prepared to join the battle, only for John to suddenly grab the man's shoulder and look him in the eye. No, you and your friend need to get out of here, Joe said, looking at the unconscious woman. But the guy protested, only for John to shake his head. I'm sorry, but it's too dangerous for you guys. Almost having to punctuate his point, the sound of explosions ripped through the foyer, and Mumbo threw small white pellets at the fighting heroes. He had low towards the nearby guard, but at him from the blast, while he was acting the shield around herself. Mumbo merely battled the explosion, while Beastboy gracefully jumped over them, while lunging at the magician. The white smoke, Mumbo panted his sleeve, and set for the swarm of flying cards and the surprised lion. The guard engulfed the Beast Boy and threw him up to the ceiling with enough force to slightly get him, then slammed him back down with a loud crash. Go now! Joe shouted, catching up the woman and handed her to the guard, before rushing out to join his friend. The guard watched her helplessly, and the heroes all desperately followed the magician then, suddenly ran to his co-worker, and began them to leave. With fear providing them to go on fire, the group ran out of the hole, a hole in the wall, just as Rumi, Sapphire, and Miss Russian entered the fray. Oh, more titles! Magnificent! Greetings, I am the amazing Mumbo. Mentioned the class with a bowl, while at the same time looking under a swing from Sean. He then lifted up with a twister of flowers, holding him into Peter's arms, who grabbed under the southern way. Sorry, Joe muttered, as he and Pierre got to their feet. It's okay, Pierre answered before rearming herself and facing Mumbo. I was supposed over Peter's sky. She whispered under her breath, and after Joe turned away from her to do the same. Let us prepare themselves briefly. They were spinning into action. Bart created a grip on the pile of rubble, lifting it upwards, then shooting the debris forward like a machine gun, only for the magician to turn the sharp chunks of concrete and rubber into harmless feathers that floated away. Turning intangible, Aaron flew through the cloud of feathers to land a hit on Mumbo's jaw. His hand spun like a top from the blow, only for his arms to spring up, and grabbed his hand slightly, lowering it in his tracks. Turning up, Sapphire threw a summer starboard into him, which he blocked by sending forth another swatch of playing cards, then whipped around and slammed the submarine into the nearby wall. I will say, you guys are the most rambunctious crowd I have had ever had the misfortune of trying to entertain. Mumbo lamented. We are responded by throwing Milo at him, with the keg over the rafters current move. Mumbo traveled away in a puff of smoke, and Perry got her weapon, Mumbo fired several volleys of thunder bolts around the mission, using her grappling hook, yanked large and Mumbo to the pouch to his gun, only for him to throw out of the way, and use her to shield himself from Cyborg's volley. He seemed in pain, as she was held at Cyborg, but before she could get up, Mumbo threw 3 metal bands and unlocked him in midair, and closed themselves around her. unable to move, she wheels herself to face the magician as not. Oh, you motherfucker! She calls, only for more to prove again around her mouth. And then a glass shot in the mouth. No, I should have present. Are they? I don't see any. Almost just died. Putting his arm until me. The only player looks confused for a moment. Then opportunity to run fully in his turn. Hey! Shouted as she zoomed towards Mumbo in the burst of baton, moving around slightly of pepper magic. Everyone launching at the magician. Even the part with helpful muscular seamount, with the attention listened to me, was able to appear before him. Beside him, beside the top of his hand, with the blood end of his side, showing his top hand down to against his entire hand. Yeah! He answered, as he excited by the battle, only for me to swing him in the yard and knock him to the ground. He rolled off the floor, only for her to take on him, and let him pass to his side. And then he met towards Nora, who swung my hand like a baseball bat and struck him. The loud growling sound erupted, and Mumbo was flung to the wall. He then reacted to his feet, only for a series of waves to pin him down, pin him to the ground, and by the large copper chain got him by Haven. To the top of it all, we him some exposed river from the ground, and ran them around Mumbo. And Sean took the opportunity to hurl himself onto the man, and ran down as hard as he could. Guys, hurry! Joe yelled, and the other hand about to die and separated the man and hands from Mumbo. Commit me my random legs to free Yang from the mind. The other Leo shifted her shoulders and was free. The man and her teammates. Hey! No, bro! Rumi was interrupted by Mumbo said teleporting out with mischief mode. Arriving on top of the crystal chandelier. Immediately the Red Reaper knifed in and got a Leo fired the weapon towards him. They were turning the crystal into small pieces. They rained down upon them, and Mumbo made a teleported away from their sword, and back toward the main ward. Other heroes at this point, come on. The Meat Boy turned into an elephant, and charged at the magician, who made his shout as you can. Fly, Dumbo, fly! I know the reference. One more proclaimed by trying his run. Surely Meat Boy to turn limited apart. He immediately realized what was going on and turned back into his normal form, playing a mouse and despite attempting to free himself. News! Help! He shouted as he turned into a multitude of different animals trying to escape. Why is he not getting into a mud? Sam ran to help his friend by firing at the stream of sonic waves and Momo, who made a response by waving his wand and stopping the barrel of Cyborg's arm with a bouquet of flowers. Huh? Cyborg said as he looked at the said arm in confusion. He tried to rip out the flowers, only for a match to take his place. In the idea, he continued to rip out more and more bouquets, until finally, he then turned his other arm into sonic cannon and fired at Momo. Starfire and Haven were joining in on the assault by firing special magic and starboard towards the supervillain, only for Momo to hurl a rhino from Meat Boy at them. Raven tumbled away into shadow, while rapidly changing Meat Boy fell into Starfire and Cyborg. Raven then flew forth and tried to attack Momo once more, only for him to pop a large ring into existence. Now, by this earlier mismotion, he knows, Can you defeat me and knowing of fire? As he finished his sentence, the ring burst into flame. Megan felt her heart beat quicken, and her eyes dilated at the sight of scorching fire. She began to back away in fear, and even at great distance, she was feeling the heat towards her side pain. Why is Megan afraid of fire? Obviously, a rope suddenly wrapped around her waist and began to pull her towards the fire. As she grew even closer, Megan tried to turn insensible to escape. Only suddenly found herself unable to do so, but she began to turn right as she fled, only for a loud roar to break Rumbo's concentration. A moment later, a ginkgo knife fell from above and split the rope in two. Then tried to crunch the angled magician in his powerful jaws. Rumbo inserted several vine orbs into Miss Molly's mouth, which exploded inside. Miss shook his hand, the pain neighed, just as Megan composed himself, and the mice doused the ring of fire with a cloud of ice-cold gas. A moment later, Miss Motion flung herself at Mumbo, by turning her hand into white cloud. Okay, he said by running away from Megan, sitting at the door. For my next thing, I need a volunteer from the audience. Almost anything response, Joe said she needed one that took the most items into Claymore. Real, he said Mumbo and swung, appearing to matching the man and the waist, only for Mumbo to control himself together, and by Joel, the emitting chain, by also looking Pierre's rifle fire, the conjured mirror. Perfect, a volunteer. Mumbo then came to the wooden box and threw the captive Joel into it. Only Joel's hand was exposed, and Joel could only watch, horrified as Mumbo pulled a large sword out of thin air, and blazed it over the middle of the box. Guys! Joel screamed as Mumbo began to slow down. Others fired their weapons at the next, trying to stop the magician, but Mumbo threw the curtain in front of him, then blocked the bullets and the energy blast. Not ready to save Moon, he was spinning the blast through the curtain and mounted. Over there, and still starting Joel was completely sawed in half. His skin when Mumbo found it most mercy. And the fact that Joel did not appear to be in any extra pain, or with the fact he threatened the moving feet, was the only thing that kept her from outside fighting. No! Mumbo finished and mowed, only for a spear to hold her shield at Mumbo's face, hitting him in the nose. A loud honking noise followed as the man touched his face, giving Nora and Helen the opportunity to grab both halves of the leader and make him out of harm's way. Are you okay? Nora asked as she and Helen tried to figure out the way to solve this. Honestly, I'm fine, Joe nodded, trying to keep an upper hand, and thankful that he would not see anything below his neck at this point. He probably wouldn't have been able to run aside, or would never have completely separated from his thumb. Please, Hub. Bring him together, he was declared as she ran over him. Her hands glowing with magic, as she quickly combined both arms of Joe. Behind her, I summoned yet another series of reliefs, and picked up the scale of their prey, that shot them at Mumbo. They patted his body, and then, he summoned the robe, and gave Wise by the ankle, whipped her into Ruby with a surprise shake, then threw her out of the building. Alright everyone, now is the grand finale. Mumbo announced, patting off his hat. They fired several shots at the man from behind, leaping over him as he turned around and used his head as a vacuum. The bags of money he had previously stolen were ripped open, and had the contents be sucked into the head. He said himself not caring that the hat would not necessarily be able to hold that much cash. When he was finished, Mumble left a small smile. Only to continue to run his run around. The limited to the heroes just as they launched towards him. In the noticeable exception of Raven, who was able to fly out of his magical game and float overhead. Tom was outside, and she was about to attack him, only for Mumble to suddenly bind her with so many metal men that he almost modified her. It's funny how super villains don't realize, especially Mumble, that he can just make money. Just make it appear out of thin air. You don't have to steal it. If I see it from behind the material, and then I'll tell me free. Only for Mumble to work his finger from side to side, while making clean silhouettes with his mouth. Now, kids, unfortunately that's all the time we have for now. I'll make sure to land soon, and people are dying to see my triumphant return. Mumble out. Outside White Road, as she slowly picked herself off the ground, John O'Hammer falling off her like hell. You know, he continued finally ignoring the large purple aura surrounding him as her money, and while shaking herself out of the silver. I could actually use some assistance for tonight. And something that means that you all would be just perfect. No, we wouldn't. So immediately denied. The Lord merely smiled by continuing to sorrow. And the young and Lord dispelled defiantly and Mumble's face. He looked at the two as he wiped the spit from his face. The two were looking accomplished and smug. Well, that was rude, but I like your song, Mumble admitted. Now without falling over far into his head and aimed at the captured heroes, just as they broke free of her mouth, and Mice ran into the building. And the friends started getting sucked in, but acting the tail relieved, try and hold them in place, using another to anchor herself to the ground. They were some of the several shadowy arms and grabbed hold of her friend, while also flying away from the hanging force, with the sailing as she did. You know, I always hated hackers. Mumble shouted as he twisted throughout his run. Suddenly a large shattered pillow was lifted into the air and sent into Raven's side, who shouted in surprise as she flew into another pillow. The object collapsed as she impacted it, burying her in the rubble, but the pillow continued its swing towards the Mice on the mating. The rest started to block it with a series of grips, each one staying on impact, but slowing the object down considerably. It wasn't enough, however, and the pillar slammed into Mice's side. It knocked her into a nearby wall, hitting the aura on impact. Her vision began to blur and become hard to make anything out, but she could hear the defiant shouts of her teammates as they were sucked into Mumble's hand. That's all, folks, Mumble said as he put his back on his hand, and exited his cave out to the side. He never began to swirl just as Raven exploded from the pile of rubble and created a large magical sphere, pushing it into a large slice of energy. She shot towards Mumble, who saw rapidly and traveling away just before it impacted. The slice continued and shattered the rest behind, where he was stood in thousands of tiny splinters, and Raven snarled in anger. No! She shouted, touching her grip before she looked the injured Mice. Some of them were gasped. The greedy few flew over to her and began to tend her wounds. Now imagine how terrible the wounds would be if you didn't have your armor. Why is that keep like to Martian? Ah, I didn't know that. That's why I was like, why is she afraid? So if Mice is injured to one serious, I make the application of her of magic heard them. The sound of police sirens told her that the police were on the way, and at the moment, they went up on two of them away to a nearby rooftop. Then the placing right to the side to allow her to rest. He was heading down with her magic, try and ascertain Bumbo's location, but to her disappointment, she found nothing. No! She whispered to herself, and she wondered what to do. That changed her expression. She wanted nothing more than lash out in rage, but everyone knew that that would only make things worse. Right now, she had to tell them to rise, make sure her injuries were truly healed. She was confident that Bumbo would show himself soon enough, and when he did, the two of them would ensure that there would be hell to pay. But as fast shot, as she thought of this, but it soon passed as she pulled out her communication and dialed last week's number. I think we have a problem, and I assume this is actually a good spot to stop. Because I don't want another 2-hour stream. I'm gonna work fairly early tomorrow. It's gonna be like in 8 hours, so I probably should have some sleep as well. On Wednesday, I won't be here. I mean, on the next few days I will be working, and on Wednesday I won't be home. So the next stream is gonna be on Friday, where we are continuing and seeing if the team can do anything with Bumbo. I wouldn't be surprised if they were wearing bodysuits and other stuff, and they are probably being forced to be an assistant with magic. But yeah, I am loving this opponent. As I said, I knew I was gonna like Bumbo. In the showy showman, yeah. Showy magician, he is more like, yeah, I would assume he is more like the mask. I can imagine this. Especially because the hat and the wand just appeared back in his possession. Even though he thought that it was gone for a long time. Even though it was supposed to be destroyed by a team. But you can never destroy the items, brother. Your name will change back. But yeah, then that is it for today. I am gonna save it right here. Let's see, local. There we go. Okay. And see you next time, which is gonna be next Friday, I think. But the video is gonna be up soon. So yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.